Hi, you're watching Bread and Roses. I'm Maryam Namazie, and with my colleague Fariborz Pooya and our guest Satar Rahmani, we're here to talk about the nationwide strike of agency and temporary and day workers in the oil industry. It is truly a magnificent nationwide strike in which there are 73 or 4 agencies involved, workers from agencies involved. It's national, it's unprecedented in the past several decades in under the Islamic Republic of Iran. And of course, one of the things that this nationwide strike has highlighted is the abysmal situation of temporary and agency workers. Really, it is akin to slavery, it is akin to forced labor. And the situation is so horrendous. It's helped to highlight the situation and also raise awareness. And also, what it's done is given us an opportunity to intervene and to support the workers who are in these conditions. So we'd like to start by talking about the specific situation that they're in, their specific demands, their legitimate demands, as well as the impact this strike has on the working class and people in Iran, and also what we can do.
I think. Thanks, Maryam. I think it's interesting that this is the 13th day. I think, is that right?
The 12th day.
12th day of the strike, and we've seen over 60,000 workers in a major part of oil industry in Iran have taken part. You'll see the map. It's mostly all the oil refineries. Where there are various types of petrochemical, oil-related, and power industry related workers have gone on a strike. And imagine for a second that you have an oil industry. Only 5% of the workers are on permanent contract and recognized contract, and 95% are employed through agencies. These are agencies being created by the main characters in the Islamic Republic, effectively been outsourced to employing workers have been outsourced to these organizations, and they have no right. There are some of these sites and refineries are actually operating on the special economic zone that the labor law doesn't exist. And the abysmal labor law doesn't exist, and they're operating with no restrictions. That's created a horrible and horrendous situation. People refer to these sites as hell on earth, because you have workers who work from 5 o'clock in the morning to 6, 7 in the evening in extreme heat and unhealthy conditions. Imagine you're working on sites you're dealing with major chemical elements with no health and safety and recognition of those health and safety problems and issues. And the pay is abysmal. Minimum wage in Iran is around, I think, 12 million, which is about 400 euros or 350 pounds. And some people are employed a half or third of that amount, because they and even those small amounts of pay that they're supposed to receive, there are a month, 2 or 3 months delayed in payment. There are delay in payment. And any organization of protest is suppressed by the Islamic regime. So that situation has created so much pressure over the years that the outsourced workers effectively have gone on a strike. With no protection, have gone on a strike on various sites, and they're amazing nationwide strike, I think, and they've walked out. And it's just amazing to see how they have come together and they've put the hands together and walked out in unison. Amazing. Satar, do you want to tell us about the working conditions, and because you've done some work on this?
Yeah, what happened, in my opinion, is they following IMF a suggestion that one of them is deregulation of the workers. So they did it in Assalugia and other places. That deregulation in that case means there is no law or regulation for the workers, and the employer can do whatever they want about the working condition or payment. The strike has three main demands. One is the independent organization for workers in oil refinery, oil and gas companies, and also the demand is the salary above a poverty line, which is estimated by labor activists about 12 million in monthly. The workers in oil factory also requested to change the situation they work. It should be the health and safety issue is important. The place they sleep, the place they eat and work is not
امروز معرخ
is with the international health and safety regulation. In the heat of 50 degrees in South Iran, that itself is one of the situation that workers have to work at temperature. Based on the international law, I think when the temperature comes up to 57, they have to stop the work, but they don't. And they reported to the media that the temperature is like Tehran, 30 degrees. So they deny everything happening. And this is what these are the main reason workers stop the work and they are on a strike. They get support from many trade union in Iran is banned, but there are some groups and committees and syndicates and teachers association. They supported the oil worker, and their solidarity is important for the workers. They give them energy to continue their strike. And also we have the solidarity from international organization as well, which is increasing every day, and that gives a good hope to the workers that they can fight back and get their demand from the Islamic regime, which is not easy to challenge with the totalitarian government, which
suppresses any
suppress workers for any kind of demand. Many workers, activists in prison, incarcerated for being active worker activists.
Yeah.
Can I make a point? I think one of the things is that we know already that in the Islamic Republic of Iran, the situation of the working class is horrendous in and of itself. You have a government that, for example, considers the right to strike as haram or religiously prohibited. You have a government that doesn't give the right to, for example, association. There is no right to independent trade unions and worker associations. If you even organize around 1st of May, International Workers' Day, you can be flogged and arrested. A lot of labor activists are in prison, long-term prison sentences. They've been tortured, they've been flogged. So that is already the general situation of the working class under the Islamic Republic of Iran. However, we're now talking about a segment of the working class that is the most vulnerable, in the sense that they are day workers, they are temporary workers, they are agency workers. You're talking about the oil industry, which is a major industry in Iran, and the majority of workers in the oil industry are temporary agency workers. So they have very little rights and safety measures and all of the things that are applicable to the working class in Iran 100 times worse, in a sense. So when they say that it is akin to slavery, it is akin to forced labor, really, in prison camps, that is exactly what is happening. And I think that's what we need to recognize, is that you have workers who are coming from all over. They're not getting their wages paid. They don't have basic health and safety. They are expected to work extremely long hours in extreme heat. They sleep in containers without windows, with, they don't have a canteen to go and eat at. They are given their food in plastic bags, sometimes once a day. A lot of the food is rotten. So you're talking about a situation like this. And the fact that these workers, these, most vulnerable workers, are the ones that are on strike now for 12 days is, I think, phenomenal, and something that is so important to support. It has a knock-on effect on the working class and people's lives in Iran, but also it highlights the horrendous situation of the working class in an Islamic theocracy and in the Iranian in Iran, basically.
I think if I add, I think this is a strike. Ion is asked what does this do effectively? What difference will this strike make? Mm-hmm. It's given the opportunity of people to see the condition of the working people in Iran. Imagine that most of the workers in all industries and all trades, including those employed by government now, are outsourced, and people are not getting their wage on time. Imagine a society run, and society is run on a situation that most people receive the wages late, a month or two. Imagine that your health and safety, basic health and safety standards are completely ignored, officially ignored. Imagine for a second that if you try to ask for your right or protest or organize, immediately you are arrested or punished, or you come under pressure, or you are dismissed on the spot. Contract of employment, it's if there is one, there's not much written on behalf of the workers. It's all written what type of punishment you'll receive if you do this, that, and the other. In this situation, I think the oil workers' strike actually shone a light on the condition of the working people in Iran, and it has allowed people to see what a theocratic regime has done to Iranian society. Oil industry in Iran is the richest, that's the most profitable, but that's only so because the Islamic regime of Iran and it's the way they run the oil industry in Iran is all related to the families of people in charge, and the passed on with the military force of the Islamic regime, all related to each other, and they are piling up the riches at the expense of the working people. But this is the condition of everybody in Iran. So there's a lot of sympathy in Iran for the oil workers. And imagine for a second that the most vulnerable part of the working oil workers have gone on a strike, on a nationwide strike, in a society that any strike is illegal, organization is illegal, and government response is that this is nothing to do with us. The oil industry, the minister for oil has said the other day, and President of Iran is supposedly reformist president, said this is nothing to do with the oil industry, oil company, Iranian oil company. This is to do with the agency. You're going to speak to your employing agencies. Actually dismissed everything, and thousands of people, hundreds of, tens of thousands of workers on the strike, and the president of the Islamic Republic says nothing to do with us. But this is not going to go away. This is something that is going to stay, and I think it's important for us to be able to talk about the condition and situation of the working class and working people in Iran, because this is what happens when you have deregulation, you have neoliberalism implemented by the Islamic regime and Islamists, and this is a result of complete poverty and lack of any right. And I think this is important. The importance of this strike is that actually allowed us to talk about it, has allowed people to come together, and there's more to be done to improve the lot of the working people in Iran.
I think what is happening now, the gap between rich and poor is increasing. And based on again, I just refer to the IMF report, the misery index in Iran is past 59%, 60%. This is reported by IMF. Then again, according to the International Monetary Fund, Iran's economic growth turned negative, falling as low as a minus 9.5%. So all of these, if you look at it, corruption in everywhere, and I think it's structural corruption from top to bottom. And even we're talking about new liberalism, but the way they implementing these new liberalism is completely different from the outside world. We're talking about outsourcing, but outsourcing in other countries is completely different. Everything is related to who you are connected to the government. If not, then you can't do anything. So all of these corruption is from the inside of the government and people related to, and 200,000, 250,000 richest. Even they compare it with the world. They govern in the whole country. 2,500 Khamenei's family all. So everything is in their hand. If we see the oil workers living in the condition which is equal to barbarism, is because of not only capitalism in normal condition, but doubles the worst the condition they are in. Especially women in when they work in small factories or industries, their salary completely different from men. So it's kind of apartheid is against women. Is running double this if you compare it with men. So in oil factory, there are some people I heard women working in the cafe and in the food and cleaning and other things, and their salary is unbelievable. They don't even. One of them said, "It's embarrassing if I say how much I earn from the work," and this is disaster. You know, looking at the richest country, Iran is not a poor country. It's rich. Their income. Well, I don't know how they sell the oil, through the mafia to many countries, and they earn a lot of money during this even sanction.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think a mixture, as you said, a mixture of government who takes no responsibility for welfare of people, and this is very compatible with the ideology of human beings are are not important, but God is important. So I think that's denying the agency of human beings. They take no responsibility. They've actually consciously, step by step, as you mentioned after the war, every government, successive government in Iran, they've started to remove any protection that there are. And even when there are protections, they couldn't remove them legally. They've kept people and the working people outside of those. And so the example of oil industry is very interesting because 90% of the workers who work in oil industry, they come through agencies, either on daily basis on a really short-term contract or as bank workers. So they come in as and when they're needed. And they are working in special economic zones. Actually, the labor law that doesn't protect many people, doesn't apply to many people, it is not applicable in those special economic zones. And in this situation, that people are so desperate that they've actually walked out. And it's an impressive, and I say impressive, 60,000 workers who have no organization as such, but they have organized clearly, but they don't have recognizable organizations. They've actually walked out, and they've made a very clear set of demands. They want minimum wage to be 12 million, which is about 400 euros or 350 pounds. They want the standards because they've said that the oil industry in Iran or Iran Oil Company, it's not a poor organization. It is most profitable in Middle East. They should adhere to international health and safety. They should remove the agencies who employ people and be directly employed. And I think that's really, really important, to remove the whole group of slave laborers who are related to government ministers who outsource these effectively through it's not even competitive sort of nature. They just allocated these contracts to the friends and families. And to remove these agencies, implement proper health and safety, recognize various groups that they work with because of their skills, and paid at least minimum wage of 12 million or 300 or 400 euros, and build on that, and that people should not be dismissed for organization. The right to organization, I think that's the other demand. A whole set of demands. They've actually articulated that beautifully, and they said they would not give up unless the demands are met. And I think that there is a lot of sympathy for this, because people see themselves in Iran, see themselves in the oil workers' strike. A lot of people actually have a lot of sympathy, and I think internationally also, as you mentioned, Satar, is a hell of a lot of organizations internationally. Very quickly they've come round to support the oil workers' strike, and that is continuing every day. And the question is that what can you, who are, all of us who see this program or hear the news of the oil workers' strike, what can you do? Our suggestion is that speak to your friends in your circle, organize committees of solidarity groups in support of oil workers. If you live in a country, contact us. We'll put you in touch with people who actually are organizing. That would be great. And I think the history of the miners' strike in England, it's very telling. I remember in the 80s, Margaret Thatcher wanted to starve the miners to submission. They did not succeed, although miners did not win, but they could not starve people because everybody rallied around the miners with support groups, took them food, provided education and everything. The whole year, the whole society came behind miners' strike. And the oil strike in Iran, the Islamic government is trying to starve people out of this strike, and I think we should not allow that. Internationally, there's no reason why people can't organize solidarity groups for the oil workers, and we actually encourage and advocate that. So if you want to organize a solidarity group, make contact with us. We'll definitely put you in touch. We'll be organizing one in England. If you're around, contact us. We'll start working on that. I think this is a great opportunity for us not to explore the condition of the working class in Iran, but also support the rightful demands for human decency. I think that's what it is.
One thing I want to mention, you mentioned the miners' strike during the Thatcher time. I think the oil workers' strike is as important as the miners here. When the miners defeated, I remember that impacted most of all of the trade union activists, and since then we can see the worker strike workers trade union is going downward. So it is important, as you mentioned, that we support this oil workers strike, and we make sure that we don't repeat the same mistake, what miners did in yeah. So yeah,
absolutely. I think the glory of support. I think the glory of the network of support is amazing. I think the history of the support network for miners is amazing, and that should be, there are lessons to be learned and good practices to be repeated.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think one of the things is that the oil industry is such a key industry in Iran. It's the strikes of oil workers can have huge repercussions in that society against the government for a better life for people there. So supporting it is hugely important. We are calling on people who watch this program, who know about the strike, to come out in any way that they can, however small, to take steps to defend the striking workers and to defend their legitimate demands. Thank you so much for watching our program this week. Thank you to our wonderful guest, Satar Rahmani. From myself and Fariborz Pooya, we wish you a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next week at the same time and same place. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.